Here are some book club meeting highlights.
Crazy. I don't know if you noticed, but we got a new member. Tell me how to pronounce your name. Where's my pen? I don't know. She's.
Hi, sorry. I just downloaded Skype. I thought I had already downloaded it, but I didn't.
Okay.
My name's Solvi.
Solvi.
And hi. I found this book club because I was looking for reactions to The Ones Who Live, and I found your channel. And so I was like, hey, I could join a book club. So thank you so much for letting me in. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm so glad to have a new member. So I hope you stick around for a while. This meeting is going to be not as structured as I would usually try to make it because I'm tired, y'all. I started a new job. I went to work from 7 to 3 today and then came home. And I read for a little while until I started dozing off. And then I took like a little 15-minute nap. And I just woke up 5 minutes before this meeting was supposed to start. So I'll be better next time. But for those of you who just showed up, we do have a new member. So just go ahead and introduce yourself. How about you just tell us what your favorite book is?
Sure. So my name is Solvi. I love horror, obviously, because I'm here. My favorite book, that's going to put me on the spot. My mind just went completely blank.
I hate when that happens.
The Shining.
Oh, The Shining.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna read that one this year.
Yeah, that's one of the classics. Yeah. I do love that.
We could probably talk about like the prologue, and that's probably it. Nothing past that. I don't want to be quiet.
Well, that's a good start because that's where I got scared. Yeah. I was like, "What?" I'm like, "What the f- am I reading?" Because it's not really what I'm used to reading. Yeah. So that's where I was like, "Okay, let me buckle up. All right, what am I about to read?" Because I'm a chicken shit. Like I got a vivid imagination. It goes wild. I've seen it right here in front of me. I'm hiding under the blanket while I'm reading. Like I don't know. I don't know. But yeah.
So am I the one that's read the least of the book?
Did you read? You read the intro, right? So me and you pretty much
intro and then
me and Solvi pretty much at the same spot, basically. Okay. I think I'm still on chapter 1.
I'm glad I asked about the prologue because I really didn't think. I don't know what's wrong with me. I was just like, oh, can we just skip this?
No, always read the prologue.
Yeah, always. So in past books, have you not read it?
I'm getting back into reading. So I haven't read books since I started like the end of last year. And those books didn't have prologue. Oh, at least the one or two that I read before our book club.
When you see it, read it. Cause it's like the real chapter 1. It's like 0.5 chapter.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It always gives you like when a book is usually like it gives you a little bit of description before it takes off and tell you what's about to happen. Okay. It tells you how you got there. That's what it is. It always has like some juicy stuff starting at the end. So you go back to the beginning. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely, as soon as, obviously I've read now further, I'm like, oh, I needed to know this. Like, I would have been, I needed that information. So I got you. See, new tips. I'm learning. I'm getting back into reading. That's why I'm in a book club.
So I think this book is the first book that's been chosen since I changed how we decide which book we're going to read. I started using a spinning wheel because a lot of people, I used to do votes, and a lot of people would vote, and then I would count their vote, and then they wouldn't show up for the book club. So it didn't seem fair to count the votes of people who weren't going to be active participants. Right. So does everybody like the wheel idea?
Mm-hmm. I do. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So far, I like it.
Okay. What I didn't think about this.
They picked a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about this until after I had already created the wheel, but I was like, oh man, I should have had one wheel dedicated to strictly horror and then one wheel dedicated to thriller. But I mixed them all in together. So whatever. It's because sometimes horror and thriller, you know, they blur together. You know what I mean? They blend together. So
Yeah.
I just put them all on one wheel. But if we like this, this outcome, we'll just keep going with the wheel from here on out. One thing I did notice in the beginning of the book, since that's where I am, but the author specifically highlighted the word pandemonium in the definition. Did anybody else notice that?
No.
They defined it in the beginning of the story before the book even begins.
Chaos and pandemonium.
Yeah, so they got the three definitions there. It says a wild uproar, a chaotic situation, and then definition 2 is the capital of hell in Milton's Paradise, capitalized, and then 3 capitalize the infernal regions hell. So right then when I read that, I was like, they putting a real big emphasis on hell. So I don't know what I'm stepping into, but I feel like it's taking me. I'm gonna have to step through hell or something. Like
you're gonna have to go with some holy cross.
Yeah, now I'm scared because I'm like, I don't know what I got myself into. But I just thought that part was interesting because it's setting me up. It's like it's warning me. This is what this story is about. So get ready.
That's also interesting because it's saying that like hell is chaos or chaos is hell, like combining the two.
And even based on the cover, like, what did you guys think about the cover before you open up the book? Because that's what really drew me to the story was the cover of the book.
All I was thinking like, why the hell do people always want to go in these crazy, dark, abandoned houses? That's what I was thinking.
And you
know they never know when to go. They never know when to go.
They never want to leave.
Listen, all the light gotta do is flicker and I'm out. The windows are here. I know you don't gotta give me all the extra stuff. Okay? I'm out.
What's going on? Let's go check. No, let's go.
It's always.
Let's go.
Listen, what's going on is we getting the hell up out of here. Because no. I mean, there was too many moments. And
since we just unstructured today, we're gonna talk about some
fears. I don't have a basement.
We're gonna talk about some fears here. I'm scared of basements. Like, I want to hear like what's one of your fears? Like, not like a phobia, just like I'm scared of basements. I grew up in a house, an old house. We didn't have a finished basement. The basement was, I mean, spider webs, pipes everywhere. It was dark. It was dusty. It was one of those long.
Yeah. You really not gonna like basements after this one. You're never gonna look at a basement the same.
When I was a kid, I was playing in the back hallway and fell down the basement stairs. And I always thought the house we grew up in was haunted. I don't care what nobody say, that house was haunted. But when I was a kid, I didn't know the basement door was open. And I was playing in the back stairwell. And I leaned up against the door. And I fell down the basement stairs. I rolled all the way down the stairs.
Oh my gosh.
Luckily, my grandfather was down there. He caught me at the bottom of the stairs. But like, it just heightened that fear that I had for basements. It was always dark and dirty down there. Like, it wasn't a pretty basement like these new houses are, okay?
Yeah.
So, like, since we can't talk about the book, like, what's one of your fears? Like, I want to know. Like, anybody want to share?
The dark.
The dark. Yeah. The dark. Yeah. It's the dark. Like, the basement, too. I mean, I'm not scared of my basement, but you know, you do get the creeps when you go down in by yourself in the dark and everything.
Yeah.
Because we go down our basement stairs and then we turn the corner to go to the washer and dryer. And of course, there's the opening right there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, I'm just going to go do what I got to do, blah, blah, blah. Yep, and then run up the stairs. So that's it.
Right.
But the dark, the dark.
Yeah. Does anyone else have like? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Does anyone else have like crawl spaces above you?
Oh,
like I live in kind of like row houses,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all connected, and there's like a space in the ceiling that you could that opens and you could go into.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I must have read some story where someone crawled from one house to another or something, but I'm always afraid someone's gonna drop down from there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That is so, you just gave me chills.
My son has one.
know.
My son has one in his room, and occasionally we find the top moved.
Yeah, no.
It's so
What?
scary.
Like,
I'm like thinking about duct taping it. Shut.
Yes.
But
Occasionally,
Do it.
I seen
Nail
a
it.
story about that one time.
Yeah.
where-
After this book, it probably should be nailed, okay?
I saw a real life story once about somebody who had one of those spaces above, and somebody tried to break into her house like that. And he tried to come in. Yeah, he tried to come in through the ceiling. It was so creepy.
What? Oh my
I
gosh.
think have you guys ever heard of frogging?
Yeah.
It's something like people, they're not really homeless, but they will hide in your house, like in the walls, and when you're when you're not when you leave for the day,
squatting.
They hide in your house. When you leave
back.
from the day, they come out, they eat your food, they walk around like they live there, and they jump from house to house. That's why they call it frogging. They jump from house to house doing that. It's so creepy.
I don't like small spaces, and when I was younger, I used to have like a fear of suffocation because I watched Kill Bill, and like when she got buried alive, I'm good.
You guys ever saw that movie Descent?
That's a good one. That was good.
Yeah.
That was scary.
And they had to crawl through all those tight spaces in the caves. Yeah, no.
Someone hiding in the house is like the scariest thing to me.
Yeah.
When
scary.
When I'm home alone, I got two boys, I got two kids, but when they like are gone, like, and I'm home alone, I still get like paranoid, thinking, okay, I go in the bathroom to use the bathroom, I'll pull a shower curtain back, like I'm thinking somebody's hiding back there, and I'm thinking, Kiki, if somebody is hiding back there, what the fuck are you going to do when I pull the curtain back and they pop out at me? You know, I ain't got no weapon. What am I doing? If somebody was really there.
That's true.
Kwame, what about you?
I'm scared. Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kwame. You got any fears you want to share?
I don't have. I'm just a scaredy cat. My husband scares me all the time.
I'm scared of probably like two things that I can think of off the top of my head. But one is heights. Like I get like scared just watching somebody on a ladder. Like I get nervous. I don't like it, especially we see those people cleaning the window on the buildings. I'm like, my whole stomach drops. I can't take it.
That's a job. I hope they get paid $1 million an hour because
girl.
Could not do it. Like, never. And then the movie It. I'm scared of sewers. Like walking by a sewer. Yeah. I don't walk by sewers close. Yeah. I walk around a sewer. Anytime, even I was walking my son the other day. I said, "Oh, we're gonna go over. We're gonna skirt this way," and I always look to make sure, like, because something can grab you in the sewer. And I think them clowns be.
I love that movie. I love that book. I am
the original one.
I love that. I'm looking at the book right here. Like you said, it in my heart. I just love it. I might get a tattoo. Actually, I'm so obsessed.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm gonna get the little red. I'm gonna get the red balloon.
Don't do that.
And Georgie's little boat.
No,
I still the newer It. He looks so scary.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't even gotta try it because I'm all set.
I got like a collector's book. It got like all the artwork and stuff in it. Some of the stuff that you didn't even see in the movie. I love it so much. I'm like obsessed with that story.
I'm scared to read Stephen King though. Like Stephen King horror. I've read like 3 of his sci-fi, but I'm sort of kind of scared to read any of his horror books.
I can see that.
Bad.
Okay. I read
No, it's giving nightmares. I'm okay.
What the book? Have you seen how huge the book It is? Like this fucking. Look at this. This thing is
How big is that?
Why is it so big?
Under the Dome, because Under the Dome is over 1,000 pages.
It's over 1,000 pages.
Yep.
Wow.
It's over
See,
1,000
books
pages.
like that, I have to listen to the audio. That's 1,000 pages. I have to listen to the audio.
I've never made it all the way to the end. I'm currently rereading it because I always put it down, then I put it down for too long, and then I gotta restart it. So I'm in the middle now. I'm on like page 500 something. But I'm gonna I'm gonna listen to the audio to help me get through it because I want to finish it. I want to get all the way to the end. But I love this story so much.
Why was I don't even know how old I watched that movie, but why we were watching these kind of movies, I had to be 10. I mean, this is traumatized, and I'm traumatized from it still to this day. Like, why would you let me watch this?
I was way too young watching scary movies. I think I remember being like 7, 8 years old watching Freddy Krueger, and then I always loved to be scared. I used to love scary movies. I was always fascinated with them. But when I was young, it would give me nightmares and I would be scared. And then my older sister and my mother, she was no better, making fun of me. They used to scare me on purpose. And I used to run downstairs and tell my grandmother, "Oh, I'm telling grandma on you." And I used to run downstairs and tell grandma. But yeah, I love getting scared. I love scary movies. Like Halloween, I live for October. That's my time of year. I live for horror movies, books. Like in October, I want to go to all the haunted hay rides. I want to do all that scary stuff. All right, let's play this. Would you rather? Would you rather read one book per year and remember everything, or read 100 books and remember nothing?
100.
I don't forget it while I'm reading it, right? Because that would be
good question.
Then I guess 100 books and forget everything because I'm pretty careful.
Right.
That's pretty much how it is now anyway. So like even when I read a really great book, even if it's a favorite, I'm not gonna remember every single little detail from that book.
You're gonna remember some of it.
Yes, but mostly what you remember about a great book is how it made you feel while you was reading it. You know, you remember some little details. So as long as I remember how that book made me feel, I think that's more important than remembering every little single detail. And then I also would like to make it through the catalog of books that I want to read, because it's like thousands of books that I want to read, and I know this is not realistic. But if I can read
especially when you keep adding on, like, oh, that book is good. They recommended that one, so I'm gonna get that one.
If I can read 100, I can make it through more books. You know what I mean? So probably read 100 books and just not remember everything. As long as I can remember how it made me feel. Would you rather only read the first page of a book or just the last page?
The last page.
The first page.
First page for me.
Can I get the middle?
One of us read the first page and one read the last page, and then you tell each other what happened.
I know. That's smart. This is a good one. Would you rather read the same genre forever or only be allowed to read one book from every genre?
The same genre forever.
The same genre forever.
Yeah.
Because I love psychological
thrillers. There's so much out there. There's so much out there. Like, you could literally just, you know.
This
what
one
if you don't
Did
get
you
to
read
pick this?
a book from a genre?
This one is tough for me because God, I would hate to only be able to read one horror book ever, since I love horror. But I also like other genres, so I don't know how to answer this one. If somebody else is talking, if you have a lot of background noise, just put your mic on mute so we're not picking up the background noise. But I mean, if your side is quiet, then you can stay unmuted and just try not to talk over everybody, over one another. The first question, which is basically a generic question, anybody can answer this question, whether they finished or not. What do you think, or what did you think of the main characters by this point of the story? So between chapters 1 and 4, or between chapters 1 and 10, what do you think, or what did you think of the main characters. Anybody can chime in. If somebody starts to speak, let's just try to let them finish their thought before we jump in with our thoughts.
I felt bad for what's his name? The old guy. Old guy.
Merle, I think that's his name.
Yes, Merle. Yes, I did. I felt bad for him. You fell in love with Merle, even though he wasn't in it that long. I felt bad for Merle. You know, he was old by himself. You know, we got his backstory, and I just felt bad for what happened to him.
I liked Daniel. I liked the lead. I thought he was kind of funny. He had some funny, he had a little witty sense of humor. But I thought he was very naive. I'm with Christina on that. I thought Daniel was just so naive. Well, why would this be here in the shape of a cross? Why would these now be? I gotta get that open. He was just a little too Johnny built out. Just a little too curious. He's just a little too curious for my taste. But he's I thought he was very likable, witty, seemed like a good guy, trying to be a good guy. Obviously, they do delve into his little background with his wife and that he was neglectful of his wife, but he seemed to be very attentive to her right now in her state of pregnancy. And so I was liking Daniel's character development from where he, I guess, had been kind of an absent husband and dad, I guess. At some point.
Somebody else wanted to chime in about Daniel. I heard somebody say something.
No, I said he was likable.
Oh, okay.
Was likable.
Yeah. When I was looking up possible questions or whatever to ask you guys, I saw how somebody else on YouTube, another book club, they did this book, and one of them did not care for Daniel. They thought that he was a corny dad, but I thought it was relatable because there are a lot of dads who that's why they have that whole dad joke book, because dads are like that, especially the generational gap between the dad and the children and their friends. They always think their dad is corny, so I thought it was fitting. I don't know, that was just my thought on it.
I think he's likable. It's interesting and frustrating how much he rationalizes everything. And it's probably because he's a psychiatrist, I think. But I mean, the whole convincing himself he had night terrors and scratched himself up. Yeah. I mean, he was talking about how to get those bruises, he would have had to flung himself out of bed. And it's wouldn't your wife have woken up? And, but it's he's so educated that he over rationalizes everything, and common sense no longer exists.
Right.
He has an explanation for everything.
Yeah. And that's why, Christina, that explains why they just kept being a little too curious. He's a curious person. He wants to learn. That's his job, is to ask questions and to figure it out. And so, he's well, this is the problem. I just need to solve it. I just need to figure it out. Yeah, it's his perspective. Whereas ours are what? I don't give a shit what the source is. I don't care. I don't even figure out anything. You said enough. I know enough. Yeah, so I totally see. That's a good point, Solby, for sure.
At this point of the story, what, in the beginning of the story, a lot of creepy things happen. What do you think of the writing or the scare factor or the atmosphere of the story so far at that point?
I think the imagery is probably one of my top favorite things about this book. I literally feel like I'm looking at this picture that Nick is the author is creating for us, and I'm a very visual person, so it helped me get. I think that's really stepped up my love for the book, because I really feel like I'm in there, how Sophie's you're saying no. I feel like I'm by the basement door. I feel like I'm opening the vortex. He really created everything from the prologue when he's describing Merle sitting outside with Buck at his feet, and every little detail, but not overly done, not too wordy, but not underworded or whatever. Not he really gets to the point, hits the nail on the head.
When I started reading this book, I picked on the differences, because I don't know, because the last 3 books we read, the authors were women.
Mm. Y'all
He's
didn't
a
even
man.
pick up on that. Okay, go ahead, Kwame.
Yeah, and he was a man. And the moment when he starts describing Daniel, I was like, "You bigging him up? He got a car. He got a nice job. He doing this. Really bigging him up." And I was like, "I knew a man wrote this." I was like, and I stopped. Like I was like on the first couple of pages, and I stopped and told my mother, I was like, "You don't see the difference in so far what we have read with the women and how they describe and how he describes Daniel." Yeah, and she was like, "No, I didn't notice that, whatever." But I noticed that immediately when I was reading.
Yeah.
That
I
was
love how he
something
writes.
great to pick up on. I didn't even realize that the last 3 books that we read were all by women,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna be paying more attention now as I'm reading to see if I notice these
Yes,
differences
and
now.
those are the
That was a
differences.
great noticing, Kwame.
And also like the audiobook too with the narrator, and he changes his voice and everything when it's scary parts, and it's really scary.
Yeah. He sounded just like one of those demons out of a scary movie. Oh my god! I was like, wait a minute, I gotta pause.
Like 10 times better.
That's
I just
so
like
funny.
towards the end I stopped. I was like, okay, let me stop. I can't take no more. I can't take no more. But it was good. It's the book overall. I love how he writes and how he describes things.
Yeah.
I love the little dad jokes that he was doing. Everything. It was a really good book.
It was really good. Mm-hmm.
I think this author, I think that's where he shines is with atmosphere and imagery because, like Tanasha said, I get a real good sense,
Visual.
like a
Mhm.
very good visual, like that movie, Mind movie is going, and I feel like I'm there, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm watching a scary movie. Like he know how to build tension and get you frightened for like a jump scare. It's like a bookish jump scare though.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I think that's where he shines at the most. Anybody else want to chime in on what their opinions about the writing or the scare factor, the atmosphere?
I thought the basement was really scary, but the scariest part to me was actually the contractor when he was in bed and he was looking up at the vent, at the grates in the vent, and then saw a face there. I was like, no. That was probably the scariest so far for me.
Well, what about the beginning when they were at the house? He forgot something, and they walked in the kitchen, and he's like, he looking over at the door, and he saw the 2 eyes. I was like, oh hell no! Just go. Or
just
don't go
that
back.
little piece, just that little moment right there gave me chills. I like how I think he said this part when he was having a discussion with Merle, how they referred to that land as infected. That's a great way to put it. Like this farm is infected. It's like a disease.
At this point, what did you guys think about Luke?
I wrote in the chat, in the Discord, I was like, I don't trust this boy because the reason I didn't trust him is because every time Buck sees him, Buck's barking, but then I found out why. And that's a loyal dog.
I'm with Buck,
That dog,
Buck thinks.
It's amazing how he made this dog a character, without any words.
You know what I
mean? I definitely love the way they implemented the dog, and the dog had a big role, right? Like his role was important.
Yes. Like y'all better listen to me because I know.
Right.
I love when authors can do that, when they can take like an animal or even an inanimate objects and turn and make it a character. Like, and sometimes you'll see stuff like that in TV shows and movies too, where like something crazy is happening in a house or something, and the house has so much depth, the house has so much character that the house actually becomes its own character in this movie, in this show or whatever. And the way he's writing this house so far, I mean, with the basement door keeps opening up, like you could really say that this house is its own character as well.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, but like, what did you think of Nora's infidelity?
Guilt was eating up at her. Guilt was eating up at her. Like I could see if she didn't feel remorseful, but it was killing her. And I mean, that was enough.
Yeah.
And that's a good quality to put in a character that you're writing who has made a mistake. Like our last book, those characters didn't have no redeeming qualities, and that's one of the reasons why we didn't mesh with that book too well. But at least she has some sort of, like Christine was saying, some sort of regret about what she did. Amani or Kwame, do you have any thoughts about Nora's infidelity?
I was conflicted because I felt like the cheating, okay, that happened, but then also I felt like she didn't really at first like even want the baby.
Yeah.
And the only reason that she like wasn't even like, I guess, conveying her feelings about like possibly like not wanting the baby was because she felt guilty. So
I'm gonna do our outro question. Does anybody else have anything else they want to discuss? Let's see what I can hear. Yeah. So I usually do an outro question. Sometimes I'll play a game. I haven't played a game with you guys in a while, but I got to think of another good one. But we're not gonna do a game today. And usually the outro question is just a general question. It doesn't have to relate to the story that we're actually reading. But the question for today is, what is the most challenging book you've read?
I have two. So one is a nonfiction, the other one's fiction. So the fiction one is Kindred by Octavia Butler. That's book, a good one. Yeah, no, my friend had to keep convincing me to keep reading because I was about to DNF it just because I couldn't do it. Yeah.
Is it because of the subject matter?
Yeah, and like some of the stuff that was happening in the book, I was like, I can't.
Oh gosh.
And then the nonfiction one is called Bless the Daughter, Raised by a Voice in Her Head. It's a poetry collection that was written by a author from Africa, and she is like basically she collected a whole bunch of stories from different refugees from her country and turned it into a poem collection.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
That sounds good.
Put that one inside the Discord so I can remember. Okay. In your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to share?
Difficult to read. I only just recently got back into reading, but there's only one book that I kind of put down in the last 6 months. I was like, okay, I need to take a break. I wouldn't say I'm like done, but it's like is this book, what is it called? Oh gosh, I have to look it up. But I like a little smut, but it's a long book too. It's probably like 600 pages.
Oh God.
But it got to the point where it was just like so much smut, like sex. I was like, where's the plot? And I was like, okay, I need to like put that down. Like, it's gotta make sense. There's gotta be like some point behind it. Like there don't need to be so many scenes, like just back to back to back to back to back. I'm like, okay, well, when are we gonna get to the story? Back to the story, circle back to what's going on. So that's like the only book. That's let me go look it up. It's called I shan't tell somebody. What is it called? The Ritual.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard of that.
The Ritual.
The Ritual. And it was good. I mean, it's very like I think it has a lot of potential. And my understanding is it does kind of get back to there's a whole story and but it's hard after so many. I'm like, okay, this is like taking up too much of my time, like reading this kind of stuff. I need to.
At what point does it turn from smut erotica to porn?
Exactly.
Two are coming to mind. The first would be when I was younger in school, we had to read Moby Dick.
Oh,
I don't know if anyone's had to read that. It's a big book. That's like the language is so dense and detailed about whaling, and so in order to get through it, I had to like look at it like word art and like write down phrases I thought were neat as I went through, rather than like a story, because as a story it was just so hard to get through.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was quite a long, dense book. So that was in school, and recently for the past year I've been trying to read this book called The Man from the Train. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. But it's a true crime book that is the theory that in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a serial killer riding trains because there were a series of similar murders near train stops. So the book it sounds interesting, but the book itself is kind of just a historical telling of murder after murder after murder, and with dates and timelines, and so it kind of gets a little tough to get through. But the theory I think is interesting. But it's it's been like a year. I've been trying to finish this book.
God, yeah.
Have you oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I recently, probably within the last year, saw this like documentary about Moby Dick, like about what that book was based on, like the actual real story. And I mean, it's horrific. Like, I didn't know that that's actually what it was like about, and like, what happened on the ocean and how these people behaved in this way. I mean, I didn't know it was based on reality. I've heard of that book, Moby Dick. I've never obviously like taken that leap to read it, but I never knew like the backstory behind it. It's very interesting. If you ever want to like look up or, see a documentary or see like the information behind it and what actually happened, it's very interesting.
I'm trying to think of one. I have 2 books that have come to mind. One of them is Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. So this is a book that is based on a true story of a slave. And it's basically like her life and whatnot. There's a part in the story where she goes into hiding. She's literally hiding, I think, in like a crawl space. And I think she has children I think these are her children at this point. She had to like hide away from the white slave owner or whatever that was hunting her down. And she literally was in this crawl space watching her kids live their life, like through the cracks in the wood and stuff. They didn't know their mother was up there. And she left them with somebody else to raise, and she was literally watching them grow up from this crawl space. That part, like I said, I have kids, so that part, like right now, my eyes are welling up because I can't imagine not being able to see my children. I gotta watch them like some creep up and you know what I mean? Like I can't be with them physically, and I'm so close to them, but yet so far away. That part broke my heart in the story.
Yeah.
Among some other horrific things that happen in the story, of course, when you're talking about slavery and whatnot, but that part broke my heart. And then also, which is crazy that I'm calling this a challenging book to read because it's also one of my favorite books, Frankenstein. I love that book. Like, I love that book so much. I want to get a Frankenstein tattoo. I love that story.
Really?
But it's an old classic. In fact, I think Mary Shelley, the author, I think they call her like the mother of science fiction. She was one of the first authors to write a science fiction story. But because of the language that they used back then and the way they wrote, it was challenging to get through.
Yeah.
So what I did was I read the book physically, but I also listened along at certain parts with the audio when I could, like when I was home or whatever, or if I was on my lunch break at work. When I couldn't listen to the audio, I was reading it, and I found myself sometimes having to reread pages because like I said, because of the language. So I would go back and be like, wait a minute, I want to reread that, make sure I'm getting that right.
Yeah.
I'm understanding it. Yeah. But the story is wonderful. Like, if you wanted to, I would always recommend Mary Shelley classic. If you wanted to read a classic horror, the book is great. If you can get used to the language, it's really incredible. And Victor Frankenstein, because Frankenstein is actually the man who created the monster. Frankenstein isn't the actual. He's not really a monster, but the book was amazing. I love that story. But it was challenging to read. Any classic book is going to be challenging.
Yeah. For me, you made me think too. Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oh, okay. They turned that one.
I couldn't do that one either. Yeah, I did start watching the movie, but when I was reading the book, it was just too.
It was okay.
I don't know.
It was okay.
A lot of people didn't like the movie, so I don't know.
I didn't even finish the movie, but I know the story. It was too detailed, and it was about like the swamp and the way that they describe things, and I was like, I couldn't understand it. I just couldn't. I had to reread it and try to understand it too, and I didn't like it, so I actually stopped reading that one too. I was like, yeah, no, that's not for me.
I know for some people, some high fantasy books can be challenging to read because, I mean, fantasy, they got so many characters, so many different, they don't stay in one location usually. It has a lot of world building. So like, if you're reading a high fantasy book and you've never read a high fantasy book before, you are going to struggle. I guarantee it.
So yeah, you guys, have any of you read Children of Blood and Bone?
Yes.
Yeah. I read both the 1 and 2 because she got the first sequel coming out. But with the first one, I listened to that one also. So you're right, Kiava. If you're not used to it, and you just got to keep going. I was reading and listening to it. I'm like, what the hell? Oh,
yeah. A lot of characters. You got to keep all that stuff in your head. I read the first book in the Game of Thrones series.
Oh, I read that.
And the first book the writing isn't that difficult, but the further along you go, like it's a lot. It's a lot of characters. I don't know if you guys ever watched the Game of Thrones show, but if you did, there are a lot of characters. They got a map because there's all these different places that are involved, kingdoms and whatnot. So I started reading it physically, and then I did pick up the audio just to help me get through it but I love fantasy stories, so I want to be able to read fantasy books, but they are challenging to read.
Yeah, fantasy is my main genre, but like even like high fantasies, like I have the 3rd Game of Thrones book right here. It looks like a Bible.
Yes.
But like when they have so many characters, like I know in Game of Thrones, the author said he like made a lot of the characters' names like the same or similar on purpose because that's how it is in real life. That just makes it more confusing now.
Yeah.
It really does. And then I'm watching the House of the Dragon, the prequel show, and it's like Aegon, Aemon, like fifth of his name and 6th of her name, and I'm just like, who is this person again?
Yeah, and it's like they're all still alive, so it's like 6 Aegons or something.
Yeah, it's like they're all Aegon. Who are you? Who's your dad? So
who's your dad?
It's so good though. It's so good. House of Dragons is so good.
House of the Dragon is a soap.
I cannot wait till June.
That show.
I cannot wait till June.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna react to it. I can't wait to see it.
So good.
I'm kind of glad this book the ending had a sense of dread to it because it seems very realistic that way. Like it wasn't just a happy ending.
Yeah,
there's some lingering threat still there. I didn't there was parts in the story where there's something very serious happening, like there's a lot of stakes, and then they would stop to have this conversation about their feelings, and I'm like, do we really have time for this? Oh, I had an affair. The daughter is down in the basement.
Right.
Yes. Talking about this right now. What was one of y'all scariest scenes or moments from the book?
One of mine was the imagery that he gave when Luke didn't have his flashlight and he went back to that tree tent and that thing was swollen behind his neck and he was curled up in a ball. I was freaking out.
The construction guys when the guy went in the house and he looked and he saw the eyes. Yep. That freaked me out too. That right there. You went back in the house, he had this feeling that something was off. And then he just happened to look, the doors open, and he saw some eyes. Man, I done ran out of there. Well, first of all, I wouldn't have been in there by myself. But that part just started it for me too. Just a feeling of, you being watched or, something.
I would say that my part, it had a lot of creepy moments. I like the part when they went to Luke's house and they found the dead father, and then his dead body started sitting up. Yes, like they both Nora and Daniel were both seeing different things, and she saw the dead father sitting up, and then he had like a pregnant belly, and the fetus was moving around, and he just ripped it open, and it came out. And it was just so disturbing.
And Daniel saw something else. Yep.
I want to read more from this author because they shine with the imagery and the atmosphere.
I guess for me, one of the parts that was a little bit much for me was like when they did go to Luke's house and he was like trying to, I don't know, like kill Alice, but then he was killing his father, and like the way that he described like him killing his father was And then dragging her through the woods, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Father Martin? I thought for a character that was only in that small part of the book that he really shined. Like, I really liked the priest.
Yeah.
You know, and then they just snatched him from us, like, and just drug him down that fucking thing. I'm like, for real?
Like, you really don't need to be here. Yep.
He was about business. He was like, nope, he was about business.
Wow.
And he was like, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready or some shit. I was like, this priest is about it.
He must have been a black priest with that one.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Right, that's what we say, right? I think I was devastated though when I was shocked when he died. I didn't even think about the crow thing, that it was related to him, Imani. But I was like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get out of this? He's too valuable. Like, I thought, like, they built his character up really well. I mean, this author, he gives us life and then snatches it away. Like, which good TV shows and good movies, they do that. But I was just, his death really shocked me. I was like, okay, what are we going to do now? Now this is it. Hands up. What are we going to do? We don't have a priest. So I thought it was good. It was a good, another little good surprise at the end.
Yeah.
That the author threw in there.
I know you guys want to talk about it. What are your thoughts on Buck? The dog.
We love Buck. We love
I absolutely love how they included him, okay?
Yeah,
I just love how I love the dog. The dog was by far my favorite character.
I found an interesting little Easter egg in the book. So the Exorcist Merle, his last name is Blatty, and the person who wrote the original Exorcist story, his name is William Peter Blatty. So the author named this character after that author.
Oh,
I thought that was interesting. Because I was like, Blatty, I know that name. They didn't say his last name, and I don't know if they said it in the beginning of the book, but I noticed it towards the end of the book where they said his first and last name, and I was like, oh, that's the author of The Exorcist.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool. I won't look at a whale the same way. I'm not going nowhere near no whale.
There's a well across the street. There's this old abandoned house across the street from where I live at.
What?
And in the summertime, I mean, the house been there. I've been living here for 14 years. The house been there for years, but I just noticed last year, oh my God, they got a well in the front yard. And in the summertime, you can't really see it because it's all covered with brush. It's all overgrown. But in the wintertime, it is right, like it's old farmland. It's like a farmhouse. They got a barn in the backyard. It's all decrepit.
A barn too?
Yes. There is a freaking well in the front yard. Overall, what would you rate the book?
I say 5 stars.
For me. Christina left, but Christina said 5 stars too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew actually from the beginning that it was going to be something good. For some reason, I just felt that it was going to be good. So definitely 5 star for me.
I gotta sit on it for a little while. I'm like a 4 or a 5, I think. That ending, the beginning and the ending really were really great. So usually if a book starts out good and has a great ending, I'm giving it a 5. But I usually give books a 5 that blow me away. Things that I feel like it's gonna stick with me for a long time. This one will stick with me for a while. I don't know if it blew me away. So I'm gonna sit with it for a little while.
I don't give 5 stars, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I would say I would probably give it a 3.5. I'd say definitely though, the books that you enjoy now, just like enjoying them, because like the more you read, like the more critical you become.
Yeah. And I think I said this in our last meeting that not every book has to be like a Nobel Prize winning book. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Like some books just are fine being entertaining reads. Some books, not every book has to be hard hitting. You know what I mean? I don't need master storytelling for every book. it was just a good story. So enjoy it for what it is. You guys ready?
I'm nervous, you guys. I'm nervous.
Are we going to get different tries?
So we got House of Hunger, which I've heard is amazing, y'all.
Ooh.
I did hear this one was amazing. So
I'm excited.
Please keep in mind that these are just highlights from our book club meetings. These aren't the book club meetings in its entirety. If you'd like to get in on the conversation and get in on the fun, then please consider joining the book club. You can comment down below or send me an email if you're interested in joining.